What's crack-a-lack-a-lackin', everybody? Welcome into the very first episode of My Mind is a Weapon podcast. I am your host, Derek, a.k.a. Sleazeball FF. You can find me across all social media platforms. Twitter is my biggest, of course. This episode is going to be called Rookie Tiers and Fears. What it's going to be is my top 20 rookies ranked at a tier chart of how I think they're going to produce in the 2024 season. So you're not going to see backup running backs, like Jalen Wright, Blake Corum, Trey Benson, Braylon Allen, all these guys, because I feel like their production is earned by injury. So this is going to be based on pure production as of starting the season as of right now. And let's get it popping, guys. Let's dive into it. I hope you're having a good Tuesday afternoon. You can also, this is a live podcast. You can find me live on YouTube. You can also download it on Spotify and Apple. All the support's appreciated, guys. This is the very first episode. I'm super excited. And let's dive into it and get it started.
Welcome to the My Mind is a Weapon podcast.
So for the viewers that are watching and the listeners that are listening, let me explain the chart here. So I have a chart of baller tiers at the very top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down. I'm not going to go over college stats. I want this video to be purely for how the fantasy production outlook is going to look into the 2024 season. So I'm not going to give you, the went for this many yards in college. That's not how I'm going to do this. I'm purely for fantasy football purposes. That is what I do. And let's get it started here. The very first player is the guy that I'm the most excited about to watch the offense. I'm most excited about to watch the Arizona Cardinals select Marvin Harrison Jr., number 4 pick out of Ohio State. Couldn't be a better landing spot, in my opinion, for a alpha dominant wide receiver than any spot I've seen in a long time. I mean, Kyler Murray, you get healthy. You get James Conner in the backfield. You get Trey McBride across the middle. The Arizona Cardinals last season threw 277 targets to the wide receivers at a 51.3% rate. And that's without Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray stepped in week 9 or 10, I believe. I'm not sure. I don't want to nail it down to which one it was. And he's going to explode this season. They're already talking full Kyler Murray fantasy pro saying this is going to be the number 1 offense. Get your popcorn ready. I am on board. It's super hard for me to rank a rookie wide receiver in the top 10, but if there's anyone that can do it besides Puka Nakua's crazy year last year, I mean, if anyone that can do it this year, I am all in on Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't care about his ADP at ADP 15, ADP 17. I'm fine taking him in the top 12. This is going to be lights out, and I cannot wait to see it. Number 2, baller tier number 2 is going to be Jaden Daniels, who I have above Caleb Williams. Yes, I believe that his rushing upside, going to the Commanders, having the weapons he has around him, and Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson. He's going to have, they bring in Austin Eckler to go along with Brian Robinson. They draft Ben Sinnott as well, who we'll get to later. Zach Ertz, the veteran presence across the middle, is there at tight end. This is probably my second behind the Arizona Cardinals offense that I cannot wait to see. And Jaden Daniels has a legit possible chance to be a top 15, possibly a top 12. I'm not going to fully go top 12 because I think CJ Stroud's the only quarterback in like the past 10 years as a rookie to hit top 12 in fantasy. But the Commanders now, Kingsbury, they get Cliff Kingsbury, who's getting fast-paced offense brought in here. They get a defensive-minded coach for the defensive side, which will help them on the ball even more. Now, last season with Sam Howell, they were gunslinging, so they were playing from behind a lot. They threw for 371 attempts at 61% rate, which is literally the top 6. So they were 6th in the NFL last season at passing the ball. I don't believe this is going to change. I think the pace picks up even more, and you could possibly see the Commanders get out of the number 6 spot, hop into the top 4 spot here. I could really see this happening. I love Jaden Daniels this season. I cannot get enough of him. My baller tier number 3 player following suit right behind him is Caleb Williams. Now, I'm going to do these two together because it's kind of the same talking points I'm going to hit on both. So I'm going to throw Rome Odunze. So Rome Odunze I have in tier 2. Caleb Williams, I have baller tier number 3, baller tier. So baller tier number 3 for Caleb, tier 2, number 1 for Rome Odunze. The Chicago Bears select both these guys in the first round, first pick and ninth pick. Amazing picks for Caleb Williams to step into the situation that he has right now. It's probably the best situation for any quarterback in the history of the NFL as the number one pick with the weapons around him. I mean, you get DeAndre Swift brought in a free agency. You got Roshan Johnson as a backup to him, probably the goal line back. Keenan Allen brought in a free agency. DJ Moore there. You draft Rome Odunze. You have Cole Kmet. I mean, people are already talking Super Bowl when it comes to the Bears. I'm not that high on it, but I firmly believe that Caleb Williams is going to have a good year, just like Jaden Daniels. I'll put him in the top 15. I don't know if I'm willing to go top 12 with him. I don't see the rushing upside as high as I see it with Jaden Daniels, but it's going to be explosive. Now, for Rome Odunze, this bronchitis is driving me nuts. For Rome Odunze, now this one like pains me to put him in tier 2 because when I was scouting tape in the offseason, I was ranking rookie wide receivers coming out of college. I had Rome Odunze above Marvin Harrison at number 1. I mean, this guy is unbelievable wide receiver. It's just everything in the NFL comes down to your landing spot, and they are going to be fighting for targets so much with Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, and DJ Moore, and Cole Kmet, and DeAndre Swift out the backfield. It just hurts. And now Keenan Allen wants an extension as well. So I'm like, is this guy going to be in his 3 wide receiver set for 2 years and just stuck behind a trio? That is what hurts me with Rome Odunze. He is such an alpha. If he would be in Marvin Harrison Jr. spot, I would have him in Marvin Harrison Jr. at right next, number 1 right there. So that is the only reason I have him so low. I do see the Bears throwing the ball a lot more this season than last season. Last year was very, very bad. They threw the ball the second lowest times in the NFL at 259, only targeted wide receivers at 54%. Those numbers will change this year with the talent around him. I'm fully on board with that. Heading to my number 4 baller tier player. This guy right now, listen to me now, is going to win you fantasy football championships from week 8 on, and it is Jonathan Brooks out of Texas, drafted to the Carolina Panthers. He's coming off an ACL injury, which is why he was so low in the draft. He would have been a top 15 pick if he wasn't. Now, Dave Canales comes in, the quarterback whisperer who's taking care of Geno Smith, who's taking care of Baker Mayfield, resurrected his career last season, is now going to be there for Bryce Young. There's no better breakout potential for an entire offense from last year than I believe that the Carolina Panthers have. I cannot wait to see it. And they've already been tweeting crazy nonstop about Jonathan Brooks and how he's going to be part of the passing game, part of the slot, part of everything. I would temper expectations a little because they did just, come off an ACL injury. I think they're going to work him in camp a little bit slow. But last season, the Carolina Panthers came in at number 11 with targets to wide receivers at 344. They passed the ball a total of 534 times on the season. Not too shabby, but this is the good stat that the Carolina Panthers have over other teams where they fit in the top 10 metric. So they had 92 running back targets at 17%, which is gonna be phenomenal when he takes the job from Chuba Hubbard, which is going to happen as soon as he gets fully healthy. This guy is going to be in half-point PPR, a 12 to 15-point floor a game running back, and I cannot wait to see it. Number 5 in the baller tier, heading on to my favorite landing spot that any wide receiver could have had in this draft, and it is Ladd McConkey out of Georgia going to the Chargers at pick 34 in round 2. Now, if you've watched football, you remember Keenan Allen out of the slot. They are saying that Ladd McConkey has been lining up in the slot all camp. He's going to play slot mainly on the season. You're going to have Palmer and Quentin Johnson as X on the outside, right? This guy is going to see, I'm not going to go on a bold call and say 100 targets or 100 receptions. I will say 100 targets. I'm going to say that Ladd McConkey is going to see 100 targets. And I found this awesome tweet from one of my buddies here on Twitter. If you want to go check him out, it is Chris O'Brien on Twitter at 17 game space. So he tweets out, Ladd McConkey's opportunity as a rookie is insane. Fluid route runner, fully agree. 4.39 speed with 36-inch vertical. Impressive acceleration. But the key point where I grabbed this tweet right here is the Chargers have a vacated target of 395 targets from last year, meaning Keenan Allen, Mike Williams gone. The Chargers last year threw 386 targets at wide receiver, 63% of the time. That is third most in the NFL. Now, people are going to give me this, oh, Jim Harbaugh is the coach and they're going to ground and pound. You got to be winning the football game to ground and pound the run. Like if you're watching him at Michigan, they're up 20 plus points in like 10 of their games. That is why you're seeing the Jim Harbaugh ground and pound run game. You are not going to see that in the LA Chargers. I see them winning maybe 7 to 8 games, possibly 6 to 7 games. Not much of a contender, but they will be behind most of the time. And you're going to see Herbert fling this ball. And Ladd McConkey, his ADP is at 106 right now and redrafted, is an absolute steal. This guy is going to go bonkers this season. Take it to the bank. Heading down to tier 1 to recap my ballers tier. So the ballers tier includes Marvin Harrison Jr., Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Jonathan Brooks, and Ladd McConkey. We are now heading into tier 1. This is going to be my first player in tier 1. It's going to draw a lot of skepticism, but I have my reasons why. The first player I have in tier 1 is Malik Nabers at LSU. Now, this guy is so damn good. It is crazy. His camp highlights, everything I've been watching is amazing. Scouting his tape is amazing. Every single thing, every check mark you need as a wide receiver, he check marks. The only one that's missing is the quarterback. Danny Dimes. I don't know how he has the nickname Danny Dimes. I've seen him throw. I've watched enough of his tape to realize that it should be more Danny Dumps, but we'll get to that later. He's going to see 150 targets, right? I can guarantee it. Maybe 130, maybe 140, but he's going to see massive volume. He's in a wide receiver room with Wan'Dale Robinson and Jalen Hyatt. Wan'Dale Robinson seems to have a couple injury hiccups every now and then in the season. Jalen Hyatt looking for a breakout. Malik Nabers is already an alpha wide receiver 1. Now, you're going to the problem I have, Mike Kafka, second season, he's from, Patrick Mahomes' coaching tree of Andy Reid. He's the offensive coordinator coming to his second year. Last year, he kind of got fizzled out due to injuries. I mean, Danny Dimes went down. The whole team was kind of in shambles. Darren Waller went down. So I'm going to give him a break there. But they still only last season, and they were down almost most of the games. I know they had like a little spurt at the end where they got kind of hot at the end of the season. They still only passed the ball 284 times at a 58% rate, which is horrible for being behind. They rode the wheels of Saquon Barkley even while having nothing. So, I mean, I'm still up in the air, tossing it around in my head. Am I going to see 30 pass attempts a game from the Giants if they're behind? I don't know. I know that they have Devin Singletary. Now Saquon Barkley's out of town, so they can't ride the monster Saquon Barkley. So possibly you'll see an uptick in passing attempts. I just don't know how many targets are going to be on target for Malik Nabers, and it really, really hurts me, like pains me to put him in tier 1. But I'm putting him here based solely on the guy that's throwing him the ball and the backups behind him. Heading over to tier 1, number 2, it is going to be my guy, J.J. McCarthy. Now, I know that he hasn't won the job in camp yet, or Sam Darnold has the job. That's not going to last long, guys. Don't buy too much into it. This guy was drafted high enough to where the Capitol, they're going to have to use him at some point in the season. And his whole rhetoric of bashing J.J. McCarthy is just skewed to me. Like, if they want to pull up college numbers from last season, fine. Pull up all the college numbers you want. J.J. McCarthy and the Michigan Wolverines were up 20-plus points in over 10 of their games, which is why Blake Corum's numbers looked so good. I mean, these guys just pounding out, killing him at the end, and I just don't understand why J.J. McCarthy's getting bashed for winning games. But heading to the NFL side of this, I didn't want to talk too much on the college side. The Minnesota Vikings last season did throw 337 times with bad quarterback play. So Kirk Cousins went down. What is his name? I think Nick Mullins played half the time, and he even was enough to get Justin Jefferson 200 yards in a monster game. You're telling me that J.J. McCarthy cannot do that? I'm baffled by that. I cannot wait to see him silence all the haters this season. He gets Jordan Addison. TJ Hawkinson is going to be on the pup, possibly not healthy the whole year, but the landing spot is perfect. Aaron Jones signed a free agency, Ty Chandler to back him up. I cannot wait to see J.J. McCarthy put everyone to sleep. I can't wait for it because I've been calling it. Tier 1, number 3, heading over to the next guy. This guy, I cannot believe he fell so far in the draft. It is Brock Bowers out of the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, there is one huge problem here, and I still have him tier 1 because his generational talent is just mind-blowing. This guy's been the best tight end in college football for like 3 years. But if you look at this stat right here, it's very, very painful to read. The Las Vegas Raiders last season, who drafted Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame, who was the best tight end drafted in that draft, in my opinion, at the time. I would have put him over Sam Laporta. Obviously not anymore, right? Obviously. But look at this number right here. Last year, the Las Vegas Raiders only passed the ball to tight ends 73 times at a 13% rate. That one is, there's no way that can happen this season. I expect Brock Bowers to get 70 targets alone by himself. I know they're going to be double tight end set with Michael Mayer, which really hurts. Maybe he might take 60 targets. I don't like his value in redraft. I love him in Dynasty. I just got to see if it's going to be AOC, Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew doesn't target the tight ends that much. Aiden O'Connell couldn't find Michael Mayer last season. Antonio Pierce has to work some coaching strategy in here to get this man the ball because he is too damn good to not see at least 5 to 7 targets a game. And I'm super excited to see what happens with him. The last guy in tier 1 at the 4th slot is going to be the NFL 40-time record holder, Xavier Worthy. Now, Xavier Worthy, everyone's going to give him that, oh, he's a speedster and all the speedsters don't thrive in fantasy football. This guy was more than just a speedster. He's an actual receiver as well. If you watched any of the tape at Texas, it'll tell you that. But here's a tweet I found on the side that I absolutely love. This is from the Coach Speak Index. If you don't follow them on Twitter, make sure you smash them a follow. Andy Reid at the press conference also saying, which this helps his fantasy value so much, it's crazy, saying that Xavier Worthy is going to be a starting wide receiver no matter what the set is, all 3 sets, and he's going to open the season as a kick and punt returner. So take that NFL 40-time record speed, add it to kick returning, punt returning on your fantasy team as a wide receiver with Patrick Mahomes, who can throw you a deep ball that you probably can't even outrun. I mean, Tyreek Hill, yeah, he might be able to. He's just as fast. But all signs are through the roof. If your league has any return points or anything like that, this is a monster steal at ADP. And I'm trying to snag as much Xavier Worthy as I possibly can. Take it to the bank. And you have, I forgot. And you have Rashee Rice possibly suspended. They do bring in Hollywood Brown. They do have Travis Kelce healthy, but this guy's going to take the top off. He's going to hit, and especially if you're a best ball drafter, this guy's going to hit, I'm going to say 6, 7 big bombs in the season and win you leagues, man. So recapping my tier 1, it is Malik Nabers, JJ McCarthy, Brock Bowers, Xavier Worthy. I already talked about heading into tier 2, who Rome Odunze, who is my number 1 in tier 2, gave the reasonings why. Now we are heading into number 2 in tier 2. So this is my 11th ranked rookie heading into this. And it is going to be Drake May. Now, the rushing upside that is missed here out of North Carolina is crazy to me. Like, people forget that he could actually run the ball. He doesn't have the best wide receiver group around him, but it is up and coming and they are developmental. I like Pop Douglas. I like Javon Baker. Jalen Polk we'll get to later. Javon Baker I'll get to later as well. He's going to be at the very end of the show. They re-signed Hunter Henry. They re-signed Ramondre Stevenson. He has a lot of weapons around him. Defensive-minded team still. The Patriots always are going to be for a while, I believe. That they stayed close in games last year. I think Drake May is actually being undervalued in redraft purely based on because he's on the Patriots. And that's, I get why that's there. I mean, if you look at their quarterback play since Tom Brady's been gone, it's been abysmal, right? But I just feel like it's going to be an explosive breakout year as a rookie from Drake May. He's going to silence a lot of people, and the Patriot fans are going to be really happy. I know a lot of them wanted Jaden Daniels. Obviously he's not a Jaden Daniels rushing type or athletic ability like him, but he's not as bad. It's just that he's on the Patriots. That's why I'm even dropping him low, because I'm firmly not a believer. I mean, they're power ranked 32 in the NFL. Everyone in Vegas odds has them finishing last. And if you look at their numbers from last year, the Patriots only threw the ball 289 times at a 53% rate, and they were behind in games, which that number is alarming. But I do believe that that will change with Drake May. Obviously, the quarterback upgrade will help, which is why they spent so much high draft capital on him. I just can't move him out of tier 2 yet. I'm hoping next year I can bump him up. But right now I have him tier 2, number 2, ranked number 11 on the season. My next player heading over to ranked number 12 is going to be Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. The man is a specimen, but the reason that I have him so low is because, like Rome Odunze, he's in a target eat up monster situation that I just don't like as much as others. So, I mean, I firmly believe that Christian Kirk is still going to be the one. And people are thinking, oh, Brian Thomas Jr.'s rookie's going to step in, take the one job. That's not how it's going to go. Christian Kirk is being massively undervalued. They bring in Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is Mr. Inconsistent. This guy can drop a 0 any week, which helps Brian Thomas Jr. a lot in that situation. I do think by the end of the season, Brian Thomas Jr. will take the wide receiver 1 spot. Like, I don't think his numbers will outproduce Kirk at all, but I do think he's a bigger alpha wide receiver and bigger body. He can get the ball more in the red zone. He'll be more of a target. I just feel like it's going to be a developmental kind of year early, and he'll break out late, and Christian Kirk will carry the load enough to carry more points over into the season, if that's a better breakdown for you than what I was saying. But so they also have a monster contract for Trevor Lawrence out of nowhere. You like that. They lock up their quarterback, so he's tied in with him. The chemistry will build. The Jaguars did throw the ball 349 times last year at a 57% rate. That is about top 15 in the league, actually number 12. So they're right there at number 12. And they target the wide receivers heavy more than the running backs, which is interesting to look at compared to other teams. Like if they threw 349 to the running back, they only threw, or 349 to the wide receiver, they only threw 90 to the running back. So, I mean, I look at the Dallas Cowboys, they've thrown over 100. The Jets throw 149 to the running back, 153 for the Broncos to the running back. Sean Payton loves his running backs. But it's a different type of number. I don't know if ETN's not as good at the backfield. He has dropped the ball a couple times. But I firmly believe the Jaguars are going to bounce back this season. I think last year was an aberration and Trevor Lawrence played hurt. But again, it's the weapons around him. It's the fight for target for Brian Thomas, which is why I have him in tier 2. Now, my tier 2 fourth player, who I'm ranking at number 13 right now, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, number 13 heading into the rookie season. This guy, Adonai Mitchell, right here, man. I had this guy when we were scouting tape. I believe, I don't want to quote my tweets wrong from like 3 months ago, but I think I had him at wide receiver 6 or 7, and people gave me a lot of shit. Adonai Mitchell, when I watched him, is a go-getter, jump ball freak, can beat man coverage nonstop. I don't know if you guys follow Reception Perception and Matt Harmon and what they do over there on Twitter. Shout out to them. They do amazing work. You should definitely give them a follow to keep up on stats like this. This is Adonai Mitchell's Reception Perception chart from 23 in college. So if you look here, every single route except the post route. And why is the post route red in college? Because that belonged to Xavier Worthy and the speedster. This guy is green on flat routes, comebacks, outs, corners, slants, curls. I mean, everything. Almost every single thing is unstoppable at. He's going to shock the world at his ADP. He's one of my favorite wide receivers to target in mid-round. And if Anthony Richardson can stay healthy, look what this guy did with 2 games last year. I know there's a lot of rushing that happened. They'll have a top 3 offensive line. Jonathan Taylor back off a holdout. And this sky is the limit. Michael Pittman is the receiver guy. Adonai can take the top off. Michael Pittman didn't find the end zone last year. That's where Adonai can step in. Jelani Woods also may be back and healthy, which would be a nice fit for them as well. This Colts offense is going to be electric, and Adonai Mitchell is way too low on people's draft boards for me this season. To recap my tier 2 guys, for those that are listening, it is Rome Odunze, Drake May, Brian Thomas Jr., and Adonai Mitchell. We are heading into tier 3 now. I'm going to start it off with Bo Nix out of Oregon, going to the Denver Broncos. Now, I cannot put him up higher in this category just because cannot I cannot get along with the weapons they have. I know there's a lot of breakout opportunity. I don't want to say that they're bad players. I like the Troy Franklin, you know, development they've had since college. They're going to carry that to the pros. They could have a 3 to 4 year connection there. That could build. That could be nice. Marvin Mims is another breakout guy they're talking about. Cortland Sutton doesn't know if he wants his contract, doesn't know if he wants to be traded, doesn't know what's going on there. You have Tim Patrick, who's always hurt. I'm just not on board fully with the wide receiver room. And Greg Dolce is coming off injury at tight end. He could honestly be a breakout if he looks like a rookie. Everything with him is always a breakout player. And I don't like that when that comes to a starting quarterback because you don't really know the weapons you have. And Javonte Williams, their running back, there's even more questions and questions for the Broncos. Do they have Jaleel McLaughlin? They draft Audric Estime. Ben Watson's killing it in camp. They got all these names and they can't figure out the pieces they have. They don't know what they need. This is why I have him ranked in tier 3. And if you look at the Denver Broncos last year with Russell Wilson, they only passed the ball 262 times and they threw 153 passes to the running backs. So, I mean, I just can't get on board fully yet. Unless you're in a super flex, you can start him. I don't think he's a redraft start quarterback. I mean, unless you are playing a 16-man league and have major injuries. But besides that, Bo Nix, I'm going to leave tier 3, number 1 in the tier 3 spot for now. Heading down to number 2 is my favorite player to target tier 3, number 2 late in drafts, especially in Dynasty. Ben Sinnott out of Kansas State. If anything happens to the veteran Zach Ertz, who is great for him to learn behind all offseason, you know, I honestly I hate to wish an injury on someone, but I could see Zach Ertz at age 36 getting hurt either way. I mean, he's been hurt like the past 3 to 4 years of his career. It's kind of derailed his career. He's getting older, but Father Time catches up. Ben Sinnott is going to explode onto the scene. Having Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson on the outside, that's going to draw double coverage for for Terry. Jahan will still be dude, if you look at Jahan's route running as well, like the Adonai reception perception I showed, it's insane. Jahan Dotson can beat man coverage nonstop. Then you have Austin Eckler. Then you have Brian Robinson pounded up the middle. They have a lot of weapons. This is like free running for Ben Sinnott. If he gets this job at any point in the season, this is a must-go-get player in redraft 100%. If anything happens to Zach Ertz, I love me some Ben Sinnott. Last in tier 3 is going to be Xavier Legette, South Carolina, drafted into the first round of the Carolina Panthers. This one is interesting to me because I don't know how to fully break it down yet because he joins the Dave Canales, new head coach of the Carolina Panthers. This guy's offense is immaculate. So I'm going to look at the Tampa Bay numbers here to start this off and tell you right now that Tampa Bay passed the ball at the 5th highest rate last season with Baker Mayfield. 375 pass attempts, 70% targeting the wide receiver. The numbers are insane. But why I have him so low on this board right now, or not, I wouldn't say low, but I'd say, tier 3, kind of low for wide receivers in the rookie status, is he's got Adam Thielen, who balled out last year. This guy was winning fantasy matches for people at one point. They bring in Deontay Johnson, who I think will see 150-plus targets this season. He's going to have a monster year. They still drafted Jonathan Mingo high last year, and they bring in Jatavion Sanders. So the mouths to feed are going to be a lot higher than the value I think you're going to see with Xavier Legette. I mean, he might see some carries, too, out the backfield, especially with Jonathan Brooks' ACL, getting it together going in the season. But I don't think you're going to ever have that moment where you're like, oh, I can firmly start him in my flex. I feel like you'd be switching in and out all the time, wondering if he's the guy, trying to make a trade or whatever it is. It's just a tough start for Xavier Legette. But next season, when Thielen's gone, I'll be moving Xavier Legette up. So recapping my tier 3, it is Bo Nix, Ben Sinnott, Xavier Legette. Heading into tier 4, we have 2 players here in tier 4 I want to talk about. The first one is going to be Jalen Polk. So Jalen Polk gets drafted a lot higher than he should have been to the New England Patriots, and let me tell you why. So the Washington Huskies last year, Rome Odunze, Jalen McMillan, Jalen Polk, right? So Rome Odunze, alpha, double coverage, making it better for everyone, still balls out. Jalen McMillan was putting up almost the same numbers as Rome Odunze before he got hurt, and he drops in the draft because of injury, and Jalen Polk shines above because of it. So Watching his tape, I did not think he should have been drafted as high as he did. I like Javon Baker a lot more, who we'll get to here in a second. At the very end of the video, he's my favorite guy. But I mean, the volume will be there. I guess he may be the starting wide receiver heading into the season. I don't think he's going to keep the job fully, but I do think he'll be part of the 2-3 sets all season long. The volume could be there. He'll be one of those guys that you'll plug and play as a buy starter. Again, we've gone over the Patriots numbers. If you want to go back to it with Drake May and the passing that the Patriots did last year is not great. But Jalen, I'm just not there with Jalen Polk like everyone else. And he's drafted above Demario Douglas and above Javon Baker, who Pop Douglas is already the talk of camp. Javon Baker's already been making highlight catches. You haven't heard anything really exciting about Jalen Polk out yet, but yet he's drafted higher than everyone else. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But I'm going to keep him tier 4 for now. And if he grows on me, I will move him up. I'm just not fully, I'm one of those guys that's not fully sold on him yet. This next guy, though, I have him tier 4 basically only because of one reason, and that is because Brandon Ayuk, we do not know the news yet. But my guy, Slick Ricky Purcell, if Brandon Ayuk gets traded, hear me now, will be a league winner for people down the stretch. Debo isn't really a alpha wide receiver one. He's more of a Z guy. He's all everywhere. You know, set him a screen, set him a hit, and this guy will run over 10 people, get 100 yards yakking in a game. God, sometimes the yak he gets in games drives me crazy. Just go down, stop getting hurt. But if Brandon Ayuk is gone, I mean, think about the volume that Ricky Purcell is going to see. So if you go and look at Brandon Ayuk's stats from last season, Brandon Ayuk has gotten better every single season of his career. I mean, this guy went from 700, 800, 1,000, 1,300 yards. So last season, he had 75 receptions for 1,300 yards, 7 teeters. If Ricky Purcell can get anywhere close to any of those numbers at all as a rookie, which I don't see happening, but I could see 70 receptions. I mean, he will be the alpha dog wide receiver. I know they re-signed Jawan Jennings. I'm a Niner fan. I don't think Jawan Jennings, he did make some really big catches in the playoff run last year, but he won't be a fantasy asset. I firmly believe that. And Ricky Purcell just needs the opportunity, but I have him in tier 4, and I'm going to leave him here right now strictly because we don't know Brandon Ayuk's situation. But if Brandon Ayuk is gone, I'm moving him to tier 1 right next to Xavier Worthy. That's how much I like Ricky Purcell this season. So to recap my tier 4, it was only Jalen Polk and Ricky Purcell. I'm going to have one player in tier 5 here that I cannot believe was drafted there. If you guys know, you know. And then I'm going to have my favorite draft pick of the draft next at the very end. He will be in my ballers tier. I've been tweeting about him nonstop. But let's start off with my tier 5 guy here. And I just can't wrap my head around the Atlanta Falcons, who had so many team needs, figured, oh, let's give Kirk Cousins a monster contract and bring in Michael Penix Jr. with a top 10 pick. I mean, I'm just blown away by this. If Kirk Cousins plays out his contract, Michael Penix will be 28 years old by then. I mean, and at the rate of technology, rehab, doctors, everything we have going, quarterbacks are just going to play longer and longer. So they had so many other needs. I'm baffled by this Michael Penix. I put it at tier 5. Unless we look at it like maybe Kirk Cousins' Achilles isn't going to make it back for, 6 to 8 weeks. They want to plug and play Michael Penix, maybe. But still, he's only going to play 6 to 8 games. How can I even put him in a high enough tier to be valuable? He will be a dart throw weekly. I mean, this one just pains me. I loved him coming out of Washington. I loved the passing game. I know they had a very bad championship game, but man, I really loved Michael Penix, and I'm really hurt by this landing spot, and I don't know what the Falcons were doing here. Now, this man right here, I've been tweeting about 24/7. He is my favorite wide receiver out of the rookie class, drafted late. It is Javon Baker to the New England Patriots. Now, this guy has stuck in Alabama behind wide receivers, had to transfer. UNC, transferred to UFC. If you go back and look at any of this man's tape, any of this guy versus man coverage, any of his highlight catches, they are crazy insane. And they already have been talking about him in camp after the first 7-on-7 scrimmage that this guy was going for jump balls, 2 touchdowns. I know it's camp and it's not the same. You're not in pads. I get all that. But I'm just trying to tell you, if you look at anything from this guy, he has a massive chip on his shoulder. He is going to be the wide receiver 1 for the New England Patriots by the end of the season, or maybe the midseason, I'm going to call. He is absolutely a burner, and I cannot wait. I mean, I've already done like 15 dynasties already. I own so much Javon Baker, but if you don't own Javon Baker, hear me now and go get my guy, because he is crazy, crazy, crazy good and super undervalued in every draft. And you have Pop Douglas, who's tiny. Jalen Polk could be, same kind of alpha size. I'm not, going against the Jalen Polk here, but Javon Baker is my guy. Go get my guy. That wraps it up for the very first episode of Rookie Tears and Fears. Thank you guys for listening. If you guys dropped a download or watched on YouTube or dropped a subscription, all the support is appreciated. My next episode is going to be Wednesday night with my buddy Disco. We are going to be doing grenades and fades. That's where we take 10 players out of the top 50. If you want to hop on a grenade for them or fade them, it's going to be very interesting back and forth banter. The first episodes of the week are always going to be me myself. And then I like to bring in guests and friends and stuff like that. And we're going to run through as much fantasy football content as we can to help you guys win your leagues. Again, you can find me on YouTube at SleazeballFF, or you can download the podcast on Spotify and Apple. All the support is appreciated. Have a great day, guys. Love you guys. Thanks for listening. I'm out.